Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, and welcome back to Soul Archaeology. I have to start off by saying that I have a little bit of a scratchy voice after having a bug last week, so I'm feeling fine, but my voice sounds really scratchy, so I hope I don't lose my voice, but I'm happy to be here with you, talking about the astrology of this week, the astrology of August, talking about how we can really navigate these times feeling resourced and empowered. But first, I would like to talk about Inner Compass, my North and South Node course. I've gotten such amazing feedback on this course. It's something I've been working on for many years, something that I've been wanting to do since I really started this work in astrology. I personally work with my North and South Node every single day. It's been really a map or a guide to access deeper alignment with my soul blueprint. And I also really work with them in my client work. The South Node tells us our programming. It tells us where we've been, what we default to, our shadow, but also our gifts, what we're really good at. And in many ways, that really informs our purpose. The North Node is our North Star, so it's not necessarily our comfort zone, but it's a guide to help us find more alignment with our purpose in this lifetime, with our highest expression, our higher self. And there's a lot of talk about how we're meant to release our South Node and lean into our North Node, but really it's not that. We're here to integrate the medicine of our South Node, release the shadow aspects of it, and actually evolve it into the higher expression while leaning into our North Node, allowing it to guide us. So this really forms this quite literal roadmap. And I think the North and South Node are one of the most important aspects in our chart and can give us so much information. Just mastering this one part of your chart can transform your entire life. So in this self-guided course, I walk you through really understanding on a deep level your North and South Node. I also provide all of the other North and South Node placements so you can look up your friends, your family, your partners. When I understood my partners and my family and friends' North and South Node, everything else made sense. It allowed me to be so much more compassionate, so much more understanding. I was able to understand when they were in their shadow and where it was coming from. And that's one of the reasons why I love astrology, is because it really provides this space for us to gain a deeper self-awareness and awareness of others, to bring more compassion to our experiences, to our personality, to the way we're wired, and also to provide these pockets of opportunity to evolve and grow in the ways that we're meant to in this life. So this course is self-guided. It's a really beautiful and comprehensive way to access the deep wisdom of your North and South Node placements. Understand your purpose, how you're wired, your relationships, your past, so that you can find more alignment and find more purpose in your life. Through August, it is 10% off with the code NORTH. That's just for my podcast listeners. So enjoy that. Let me know how it lands for you. It's been so fun to hear the feedback and to see how much people have gained just from really understanding this information they've gained in this course that they haven't gained in 10 years of therapy. So it's pretty cool, and I'd love to hear how it's landing for you. So going back to the astrological weather, the energy of last week was intense. And I want to talk a little bit about sort of the overall energy and the energy of August and why it might be feeling more intense, especially as we begin to build towards eclipse season. The eclipse window is officially opened. I talked about that last week in the episode that discussed the importance of the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th. The eclipse window opens a month before the first eclipse, and eclipses come in pairs. We have the first eclipse on September 7th, so it opened up on August 7th and officially opened with the full moon in Aquarius on August 9th. So August really begins to build over time. We have these rumblings, these subterranean sort of waves or currents that are influencing us through the first few weeks of August. And we're deep in the heart work, reorienting to the heart, accessing a deeper connection and coherence with the heart. And in order to connect deeper, we have to sort through the layers of feelings and experiences that have kept us from the heart walls that have created calcification or protection from pain and suffering. So heart work is not fluffy or comfortable necessarily. It's not rainbows and butterflies like it's sometimes portrayed. Heart work is depth work. It's work that requires us to go beyond the ego and into the spaces that we've worked so hard to protect. And so it's not necessarily easy work. And I've been talking a lot about this in the most recent episodes because we're being confronted right now. And these deep subterranean layers are confronting. And it's in the grit, it's in the conflict, it's in the confrontation where we really find what we need. And resisting this process, resisting the pain, resisting the fear, is what keeps us small, protected, disconnected. So the only way is really through the pain, through the fear, and into the other side. And so this week we have some supportive aspects. Like I said, the first few weeks of August sort of build towards this more intense, obvious, tumultuous energy around eclipse season. This week we have on the 11th, on August 11th, we have Mercury stationing direct. On the 12th, we have a Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is one of the more auspicious transits that we experience in astrology. And then there are the undercurrents of these other transits, which are really influencing the astrological weather. Mercury, which is currently retrograde, getting ready to station direct on the 11th. Before it stations direct, it's trining Saturn and Neptune, which are both retrograde at the earliest degrees of Aries. It's also sextile Mars, which is in Libra, and Uranus in Gemini. And then right before it stations direct, it's opposing Pluto, which is also retrograde. And I'll talk more about Mercury stationing direct in just a moment. But I want to kind of paint this picture for you all with these subterranean transits that are unfolding. We have all of these sextiles and trines. Like I said, Mercury retrograde is trine Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries. Mercury retrograde is sextile Mars and Uranus. Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde. We know Saturn and Neptune are traveling together for a while. Are sextile Pluto retrograde and Uranus, which is supporting this long-term restructuring, this dissolution of these sort of outer layer life themes, identities, how we move through life. There's also this grand trine between Uranus and Gemini, Mars in Libra, and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And this is providing some mental clarity and momentum to the building of our new identity, our new world, our new sense of self. And then we have Mars newly in Libra, opposite Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries. And this is bringing some conflict or confrontation, having us really look at our attachment systems, our patterns, our need for independence and partnership. Relationships will be brought to the forefront this week, especially with Venus and Jupiter conjunct in Cancer. We're looking at boundary work, depth work, heart work, how all of these intersect and work together to create more health in our relationships. So all of these transits, you don't even need to know what they all are, but they're all creating this gentle, perhaps, or more subtle revealing of what is not working in our lives, what wants our attention, what needs to change or shift. This is a point of refinement, clarification, realignment before a major turning point. We're collecting data, collecting information. These trines and sextiles are supportive aspects. So they help and support us in ways to create change without it being overly challenging or confronting or gritty. And with all the planets retrograde, we're getting glimpses into the underworld. We're getting glimpses into our subconscious space, the place from which we create, we manifest, we project our reality. This is a point where we get to go in and maybe clean up some of these spaces, to dust off the boxes, to tend to our mental programs, to tend to the walls that keep us out of our heart space. We're pulling threads from the past few months into sharper focus. With these supportive energies, we're maybe getting access to channels for fresh perspective and dialogue. We might be seeing solutions that weren't visible before. This is a point of revelation, especially with Mercury emerging from its underworld journey, which I'll talk about in a moment. We can see things through a new lens, through new eyes, a fresh perspective. The fog may begin to lift a little bit over the next few days, and especially over the next few weeks. And this Venus and Jupiter conjunction trine the North Node in Pisces is really allowing us to reorient to our values, to what we really want and need, to what relationships and love mean to us, to orient towards love, belonging, and what nourishes us. So there's a groundedness, almost like a weight that we really need with this Jupiter-Venus conjunction this week. And then we have this testy Mars opposition to Saturn and Neptune, which is in many ways delivering sort of a reality check. It's forcing us to slow down just enough to ensure our next moves are deliberate and not reactive. And this is sort of a pause before eclipse season. This is a space where you can actually choose how you want to meet the changes ahead. Even though there's so much happening this week, there is this sort of softness to some of it. Even though we're in a heavy retrograde period, we start to see more clearly what it will take to move through this next chapter. What wants to be tended to, what wants to be seen, integrated, cared for. But it's also exposing. It's showing us the ways that we're operating out of integrity, out of alignment with our heart, in the ego, the mind, the fear, rather than love. This is a point of refinement, like I said earlier. And not just this week, but overall, this timeline, we are learning how to actually move from love. Not in the spiritual bypassing way where it's everyone love everyone and let's jump in a pile and cuddle. This is how do we actually integrate the frequency of love into our own hearts, into our own lives, into the world. And this is a long process. This isn't something that happens overnight. Of course, you can have a beautiful sort of ego death or experience of really sensing and feeling love. I think a lot of people feel that when they have a big life experience, a loss or the birth of a child or a moment that really moves them where they can actually sense and feel love somatically, viscerally. But those moments can be fleeting because it's so much to stay in that energy all the time in a world that really is programmed and wired to work from fear. It's fueled by fear, and fear pulls us out of love. So this work, I think, of our lifetime is how can we stay in the heart more than the mind? How can we stay in love more than fear? And it's a balancing act. It's not perfect, right? It's so easy to default into those sort of south node patterns or those fears because they're so familiar. But what we really crave is love and connection. And it's not always easy following the heart path. In fact, it's usually not easy following the heart path. We almost always have some sort of resistance to it. There's often a protective layer keeping us out of that space because it's so vulnerable, or it's perceived as vulnerable. That vulnerability is the power, it's the life force, it's the sensuality, it's the connection. That vulnerability is what we actually crave, and it can feed us, not deplete us, when we know how to work with it. So all of these transits, I think, are really supporting this work of cracking open the heart, of bringing us back into more love, more connection, more resonance with the heart. So on August 11th, we have Mercury finally stationing direct in Leo at 4 degrees. It's stationed retrograde at 15 degrees of Leo. And now it's stationing direct at 4 degrees of Leo. So we will be in the shadow of Mercury retrograde until August 25th when it returns to that 15-degree Leo point. And as we know, a planet's retrograde journey is its underworld journey. It dips below and into the subconscious, into the underworld to really gain more insight, awareness, understanding, to do some of the depth work around reworking, reorienting, restructuring our beliefs, our desires, our internal landscape, which rules our current reality. So retrograde periods get a little bit slower. We're able to access information we aren't always privy to. And when a planet stations direct, it emerges from the underworld. Oftentimes on that first day of emergence, the first day of stationing, there might be a sudden surprise or a revelation or something that comes up and through your consciousness. And then over the next 2 weeks, we have this slow revealing of what Mercury, the great messenger, has learned in its underworld journey. So it's important to really pay attention to where Leo lands in your chart. This is where you've been experiencing the retrograde. Things might have felt slow. They might have felt a little delayed, uncomfortable, because all of a sudden the natural momentum that a planet has stops. It begins to slow down. It begins to even almost regress. Even though it's not actually regressing, it can feel like that because it's pulling back a little bit. It's really having us look at what needs tending within this space, within how we relate, how we express, how we identify, with how we move through our own expression, our relationships, our layers of courage, heart-centeredness. Where are we afraid to express? Where are we afraid to share? Where are we afraid to connect from the heart? Where do we hold fear in our relationship to self and others? We've been doing a lot of Leo work over the last year. We had a Mars retrograde in Leo at the beginning of this year and really through May. So the part of your chart where Leo lands has been under review in a big way. I have a feeling if you look at that part of your chart, what it rules, mine is the 10th house of career. It's my midheaven. I can tell you my work is not what it was last November. There's been a huge reorientation. There's been a huge transformation in how I work, what I value, how I share and express, what still needs my tending, what still needs my attention. And I have a feeling over the next few weeks, even more information will emerge. How do I want it to work? How do I want to spend my time sharing this information, sharing the medicine that I came here to embody? So for you, where does Leo land in your chart? Is it your fourth house? There's probably been a lot of family reorientation. Is it your seventh house? Relationships. What insight comes through this week for you? And hallelujah, conversations might become a little bit easier. Communication, travel, logistics, computer work, technology. It gets to turn back online. It starts to slowly emerge from its own underworld journey, and things just might start to flow more easily this week. It's important to remember that right before it stations direct, it does begin to apply an opposition to Pluto retrograde. So this last 24 hours of retrograde can feel really sticky, maybe really uncomfortable, really confronting. We're going to stick with that energy for a little while, even though it's stationing direct. We're still going to be in this opposition with Pluto, which is still retrograde. So we might not get that jolt of levity or emergence. It might feel still a little dense, a little confronting. Pluto is the god of the underworld, and it likes to reveal the deep, darkest parts of our psyche. What's hidden there, what we're holding on to, what we're desperately grasping and protecting. Throughout this week, Mercury is also trine with both Saturn and Neptune in Aries as well. So we have this fire and flame. We have this big grand trine in air, but also we have this trine between Mercury and Saturn and Neptune in fire. This is all about the integration of courage, discipline, vision, solidifying your heart-led ideas into form, clarifying what you really want to create, what you want to share, what you need to express. So this is looking at the Leo and Aries aspects of your chart. What is held there? What needs your attention? What needs your expression? And all of this is linking to a higher vision, a higher purpose, a higher self. This is an upgrade, an evolution of your expression in its most pure and potent and authentic form. Mercury retrograde is also sextile Mars in Libra and Uranus in Gemini, so there might be some breakthroughs this week. We already have this opposition to Pluto that we know between Mercury and Pluto. And we have this sextile, which is a harmonious or supportive aspect to Mars in Libra and Uranus in Gemini. And we know Mars in Libra wants to find balance. It wants to find harmony. It wants to rework how we relate to others. Uranus in Gemini is a great disturber, but all of this is linked to conversation, to connection, to communication. So we might have some breakthrough conversations that could potentially shift some relationship dynamics we've been working through. You might have some unexpected insight or downloads through dialogue and connection. Words really matter this week. So this is a good week for affirmations, for really getting clear on what you want and how you can speak it into form and how you can embody it into form. So there's a lot of mind reorientation happening this week, last week. And then we have this grounding, nourishing Jupiter-Venus conjunction, helping us move from those mental programs, sorting through all of the different layers of what keeps us from the heart. Jupiter and Venus are helping us ground into the heart. Jupiter is spending a year in Cancer. It will be here until next summer. Venus will be in Cancer through August, until August 25th. So we knew we would have this beautiful conjunction between the two of these planets. And we have a conjunction between these two benefic planets, which means that they're considered to bring positivity and gentleness and gifts. And when these two planets conjoin, it's seen as an auspicious opportunity to manifest, to get clear on what you want, to reorient, to open to receive. This is grounding, orienting to the heart, to what's truly valuable, to what's real and tactile, to what's most cherished. We've been doing this audit around our values, around our hearts, around what protects us from actually accessing what we truly desire within the heart. And this is an opening or a portal to receive. This is about remothering, receptivity, reworking of the heart space, honoring our needs, our capacity. Moving from the heart requires that we tend to the walls that keep us protected from it, the walls of the ego, of the mind. This transit is encouraging our heart to speak, to guide us. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, this timeline, this time in this human experience is about reorienting to the heart, allowing the heart to speak, allowing the heart to guide us. And Cancer is connected to the 4th house in astrology. It's connected to home, belonging, mothering, safety, connection, our roots. It's connected to the heart. It's connected to containment and safety. So this transit is an opening into deeper intimacy, emotional safety, and the kinds of connections that really allow our nervous systems to rest. This is a heart expansion through belonging. And I talked a little bit about belonging on my Instagram stories this week, and I got so much feedback from people who said that they also feel this sort of lack of belonging in the US. And there's so much to say about it, how so many of us are immigrants here. And, maybe not in our own generation, but through our ancestry. And so there's this deep longing for belonging. And I think that this point of rupture and fragmentation is rampant across the globe. We all have a deep desire to belong. It's embedded in our DNA. It's embedded in our physiology. It's embedded in our psyche. From tribal times, we are wired to belong. We find safety through belonging, but our world is constructed so differently now. And the work of now is to find and access this layer of belonging that transcends time and space, transcends the pockets of fragmentation and rupture around belonging, and find that infinite space where we belong to everything and everyone. It's this web of belonging that's found not only in our consciousness, but also in our tissues. This is the web that holds the I am. And I've found this web, this holding, this cradling, this belonging through deep somatic work. It's a resting place. It's a place where we can land, where we can find sameness, oneness. It's the most powerful place to sit. And it exists within each and every one of us. And I think this place is accessible through finding our own pockets of safety within our own systems. Fear separates and love unites. That's why so many organizations, governments, media use fear, because it's so powerful in keeping us small and manageable. If we feel isolated, if we feel separated, we're much weaker. And in the process that I've developed called the integration of self, our work is to find this innate sense of belonging, safety, this pocket of connection that exists within us. And this happens through somatic work. It happens through remothering, reparenting, repair, integration. And this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Cancer is a beautiful opportunity to deepen into that work. This is about remothering and emotional attunement. Cancer asks us to tend to the inner child, to soften self-protection, and to create the home our soul craves, both within and around us. I would recommend to go back to episode 107, where I really talk about this cosmic womb, this space of belonging, this connection to Cancer. And once again, wherever Cancer lands in your chart, that is what you will be reworking, redefining, cracking through layers of protection around fear so that you can open to more love. Venus rules values, money and love. Jupiter magnifies or expands whatever it touches. So Jupiter is magnifying what Venus values. Here, prosperity is measured in nourishment, time, care, and trust. not just abundance, material abundance. This is also bringing up themes around family, roots, ancestral and lineage work, healing old stories around where we come from and how we belong. This is really an opportunity to integrate ancestral wisdom without inheriting the ancestral wounds. This is a great time to sit with, what have you inherited that's been empowering from your ancestors? What's been nourishing? What does it feel like to maybe even just connect with one ritual or practice from one of your lineages? I'm mostly Norwegian, and so this week I'm going to be connecting with one ritual or practice that I've learned from my Norse shamanism training. This transit is really helping us access not only our physical belonging, our roots, our ancestry, but also our soul belonging. And I think the North and South node can really help us with that sense of belonging too. This conjunction is also trine the North node in Pisces, which will amplify intuition, compassion, the ability to really let go of rigid structures in favor of what feels aligned and life-giving, allowing our intuition and our heart to guide us. It's going to help us dissolve fear around vulnerability and open space for love. Love that is forgiving, devotional, unconditional. We know that this Jupiter and Cancer transit is already bringing a focus on family, home, family systems, housing, security. It's an intimate transit, so it's trying to guide us back to the heart. And in that process, we have to acknowledge where we're afraid of being within our heart, of allowing and surrendering to our heart to guide us. This is a great week to reflect on where you feel safest to fully open your heart, to surrender to your heart, what places or relationships. This is a great week to access boundary work. And I talk a lot about boundaries in episode 107 because I believe boundaries enable us to drop our heart walls. Boundaries support intimacy. Boundaries support health in relationships. Boundaries are one of the most important pieces of heart work. Boundaries enable you to give and receive with ease, without resentment. So you might notice this week where you're over-functioning, where you're moving out of fear rather than love. And that's a sneaky little space. Because so often we feel like we're doing this because we love this person or because we think it's the heart-centered thing to do. But really, we might be moving from fear rather than love. So this is a profound time of auditing where we are moving from and how can we connect deeper with the heart so that we can move into this eclipse season more aligned. So this is not the easy work. This is deep work. Thank you as always for being here. I wanted to also share that I have a discount code for the Loom box, which is a red light box. I love it so much. I've been traveling with it. It's really helped me with my inflammation while traveling. I have a very sensitive system, and sometimes just traveling activates my inflammation because our nervous systems feel most safe when we're at home, when we're grounded into our space. This goes back to tribal times once again. I'm a Sag moon though, so I have to travel. I love it. It's life-giving. It makes me so happy. I've been traveling for about a month and a half now, and this little box is my favorite because a lot of red light boxes or red lights are quite big and bulky. This is small. I can pack it in my little carry-on suitcase that I take everywhere with me. It's rechargeable. It can work without a cord, so it's incredibly helpful with my inflammation, with just supporting my body, especially if I'm eating different foods, drinking different water. It's one of the tools in my toolbox that I use most, and I love this little light. So I have a discount code, a link for that in the show notes. It's called Loom Box, and this is a pretty great discount that they provide and really brings the cost down quite a bit. Thank you as always for being here. Thank you for your presence, for the heart work that I know you're all within. I am always so appreciative for sharing on social media, sharing with friends, letting me know how the episodes land for you. I have a lot of people I need to get back to. So if you haven't heard from me yet, it's coming. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your presence, and have a beautiful week.